I bet that you do every single one of these bad habits, don't you? You're just like most people around the world who do these bad habits, who are that are mentally destroying them, but they still do them anyway. Why? These bad habits, they're so addictive, and they're so that people will literally do them even though they know that it's bad for them. That's basically just self-harm, isn't it? And you do this as well. You do all five of these bad habits, even though you know they're mentally destroying you. But there's that version of you out there who has reached his full potential. There's that superior version of you who doesn't do any of these bad habits. He doesn't do any of these bad habits because he knows that these bad habits will mentally destroy him. And because of that, he knows exactly the habits that he has to do. He doesn't do any of these. That full potential version of you, the superior version of you, every time he does a bad habit, every time he does a habit that isn't good for him, he stops it immediately. He vows to stop it. Why? Because he has self-respect. The five habits that are mentally destroying you. Now, the first one is one that you already know about. It's probably the most addictive substance on this planet. At least one of the most addictive substances on this planet. You've probably been addicted to it for years and years and years. I know I have. I've been addicted to it for years as well. It's just porn. Now, again, I don't want this to be like a basic self-improvement video. We're like, oh yeah, porn's bad for you. Like, we already know porn is bad for you, but watching porn and masturbating basically just means that you're just self-castrating. Do you know what that means? You know what castration means? Castration basically just means when you chop off the balls of an animal. You take a male animal, a male dog, or a male like cat, for example, and they chop off its balls. What happens to it? What happens? That previous animal used to be like feisty and adventurous and loud and like, playful, becomes weak, lazy, lethargic. That's what you're basically doing to yourself when you overindulge in things like porn. It's fucking horrible for you. Like, porn will change how you look at the world. Porn will change how you look at women. Basically, what porn will do. Porn is just a net negative. Porn doesn't serve you in any way. You can think of the pros and cons list for porn right now. What is it? There's a massive list of cons right here. It's a waste of time. Basically, you're just castrating yourself. It's unrealistic. It just gives you unrealistic expectations of just people. There's a long, long list of cons. The pro is pleasure. That's it. And it stops there. You're basically just like, when you're watching porn, you're basically just a little monkey. Like, monkeys in like the wild, they're basically just a little monkey who jacks off whilst he watches like the big giant gorilla fuck the other gorilla that he wants. He's not like actually like working towards it. He's just sitting there in the tree, just like jerking off his dick. Is that what you want to be? You want to be a little fucking monkey? Then stop watching porn. Again, there's a massive list of cons. What's the pros? Pleasure, and it stops there. That's it. Why? It will mentally destroy you. It will fuck up your self-image. And so porn is also probably one of the worst things that you can do. Like, you already know this. You don't even need me to tell you this. Yet you still do it. Why? Because you have no self-respect. You don't have any respect for yourself. And so like, oh, okay, instead of, trying to get a girlfriend or something like that, I'm just going to watch porn instead because it's easier. It's faster. Monkey activities. And listen, you can quit porn. It's really that simple. Like, I already have a bunch of videos on how to stop masturbating, NoFap, and all this other bullshit. You can go look that up. Most of the advice is terrible, though. Most of the advice is terrible. It tells you to install, like, this porn blocker or some other bullshit. Don't do that. You can go and watch the video titled The Best NoFap Benefit, and I explain it there. But basically, if you watch porn, all that means is that you're a little fucking monkey who has no self-respect. Really, bro? You really want to be a little monkey? That superior version of yourself. Think about him. Think about you right now. And think about that superior version of yourself. He's not watching porn like a fucking monkey. He's allocating that time towards something else. Something more productive. Whilst you're over here being like, ooh. No. The second habit that's mentally destroying you is also probably just the most common one that most people do. Even quote, disciplined people, they still do this one. What is it? Procrastination. Every single day, there's that one task that you know you should do. You know for a fact that you should do it, but you don't. Why? because your brain is fucked. Your brain is fucked. And so you can't, like, listen, you're over here being like autistic and being like, oh no, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? Bro, we need your brain to work first. You want to know how to like, you want to know the simple answer to like most of these things, most of these problems. 5 to 10 minutes of meditation every single day for the rest of your life. Now, I know that might seem like, okay, what the fuck is he talking about? Like meditation, like what the fuck is that gonna do? It's gonna make your brain work properly. Listen, like, you're retarded. I'm just gonna be completely honest. Like, and even me, bro, like I'm still like slightly retarded because we've just been retarded our whole lives. And so the way to like not be retarded, not be autistic anymore, is to make our brain work first. And how do you do that? You sit in silence. You sit and focus on one thing, because your brain is just mindless. Your brain is just fucking mindless, bro. Come on. We need your brain to work first before you can think about doing any of these things, before you can think about, okay, how do I quit porn? How do I start procrastinating? How do I do this? Your brain needs to work first, bro. Come on. You can go and watch the video that I uploaded previously just about meditation, but like, it's really, really important. Don't forget any of this. How do you stop procrastination? Honestly, do you want me to just give you like the answer that nobody really wants to talk about? There's two ways. The first one is, create a timetable. You've heard me say this before. Create a timetable. Know what you're going to do throughout every single moment of the day. Your day should be 100% productive, by the way. You shouldn't be wasting any time. That doesn't mean to just work all day. That doesn't mean to work for 18 hours a day. But that means to go outside for a walk. That means to go and talk with a random stranger. Like, just say hi to somebody on the street. That means to go and hang out with your father. Like, it means to do those things. That's still productive. Productive doesn't mean just working all day. Any instant gratification habit that you can think of is just unproductive. And so your day shouldn't be filled up with any of those things. And so once you know what you're going to do throughout every single moment of the day, and you know for a fact that from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., you got to do this task. You've already planned it out. And so you can get into this plain mindset where you just execute and you don't instead spend that 1 hour block just fapping instead. Because that's what you were gonna go do if you didn't plan it out, most likely. So you should plan out your whole day, just using your brain, just not using your emotions, just using your just logical brain. Just plan out the whole day, so you don't have a fapathon in the middle of the day. You know what I mean? And that's one way. And the second way is just to realize, again, it's just to have self-respect. That's it. Why? Why do I keep saying this? Why do I keep saying, oh yeah, you should have self-respect, you should have self-respect? A lot of these habits that are just going to mentally destroy you, it all comes down to how much you respect yourself, how much that you care about your future self, not your current self, your future self. And so by procrastinating, by watching porn, and by doing the other 3 things that I'm going to talk about later, you're just making your future self's life worse. Really? You're really going to be that much of a dick to your future self. You're going to procrastinate. You're going to say, oh no, I'm just going to let my future self handle this. When you say that, effectively, when you're procrastinating, you're saying, oh yeah, I'm just going to let my future self handle this, bro. When your future self tries to handle this, he's going to be looking back on current you right now, thinking, what a bitch, why the fuck didn't I do this? You need to have self-respect for yourself. And so always think of your future self. Always think of him. Why? Because you're going to become him one day. You're going to become your future self. And so are you going to look back at the action that you took today with gratitude or resentment? That's your choice. If you have self-respect, most likely your future self is going to look back at you and think, damn, I did this in a good way. Really? Are you really going to be that much of a dick to your future self? You're going to be that much of an asshole to your future self? That's effectively what you're saying when you're doing these things. Is that, okay, I don't really give a fuck about my future self. Who cares about him? That's effectively what you're saying. Monkey mindset, bro. Come on. The third habit that you're doing that also, even to this day, I still sometimes do this. Daydreaming. I know for a fact that since the start of this video, if you're still watching this, most of the people have probably clicked off, by the way, because they got shit attention spans. If you're still watching this, you've daydreamed at least 3 times since the start of this video. Maybe even more. You're a movie star inside of your mind, aren't you? You think that you are important. You think that you're special. You're not. I'm not special at all. I'm not really that important either. You're not special. We're not special. Why do you think that all these guys that you look up to, that you relate so heavily to, maybe it's me, maybe you relate so heavily to me. Why is that? Well, because we've all lived the same lives before. We're not special at all. We've been conditioned by these Hollywood movies, by maybe your parents, by your teachers, to think like, oh yeah, everybody's special, guys. Here's a participation trophy. Bullshit. We're not special at all. You've already daydreamed another 2 times. You know for a fact about this, right? You've daydreamed at least 5 times throughout this video. The daydreaming haze is probably one of the biggest problems because it's just instant gratification. It's just another form of instant gratification. You get the results in real life. In your brain. You get the results in your brain, in your imaginary fantasy world, by not putting in any of the work. Now, I'm just going to give you a disclaimer right now. This does not mean that you shouldn't visualize. Visualizations are different. Visualizations, like, yeah, it's kind of similar to daydreaming where, you're visualizing the dream outcome. But the difference with the visualization is that you take action. You take action towards the goal. You visualize, like, having a 6-pack, being shredded, and then you actually take the actions towards it. You go and hit the workout. You eat, the meal prep that you prep before. You sleep on time. You make sure you're well hydrated. And so that's productive because you're changing your self-image by doing that. You're changing your self-image by visualizing. You're taking action towards that goal that you're visualizing. When you're daydreaming, you're basically just mentally masturbating. That's all you're doing. Again, monkey mindset, right? That's basically all you're doing. And so, since the start of this video, you've already daydreamed 7 times. I know for a fact that you've daydreamed at least 7 times. Maybe fewer, maybe more. But you've daydreamed a lot throughout this video so far. Presence is a superpower in this distracted world. Why do I keep talking about presence? Because your brain doesn't fucking work. Your brain needs to work first. And so, when you're daydreaming, you're just mindless. You're just mentally masturbating. So the cure to daydreaming, again, 5 to 10 minutes of meditation every single day for the rest of your life. Everything that you think of, you want to get higher grades in school, be present. You want to hit a PR in the gym, be present. You want to get into a flow state whilst you do your work so you remain completely just undistracted, be present. There's no thoughts in my mind right now. I'm not thinking about fucking the meal that I have to eat today, or, I gotta do this task today or this task today. I'm not thinking about any of that. All I'm thinking about is this video right here. Focus. Do you know what that means? Like, you've probably heard, like, oh yeah, you should focus, bro. You should lock in. What the fuck does that even mean? Be present. Be undistracted. And so, since the start of this video, you've been distracted. You've already daydreamed like 10 times, bro. And the thing about daydreaming is it's so easy to do. You can visualize being a champion, a UFC champion in your head without actually putting in the work. You can visualize being shredded. You could be fat as fuck. You could be like obese, 400 pounds, but you could visualize yourself having a 6-pack, couldn't you? And so since your real life is shit, house creaking, bro. Since your real life is shit, you seep back into the daydreaming haze. And so you keep daydreaming. And your real life becomes more shit because, again, you don't take action whilst you're daydreaming. And then, again, you seep back into the haze, and it's just a vicious cycle. I guarantee you've been mindless throughout half this video. You've probably scrolled down to the comments. Maybe you've been checking the suggested videos. Your brain doesn't work. Your brain can't focus on just one thing at once. Your brain, like, I know I keep saying this, and I know this might sound annoying. You're like, okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, I gotta get my brain to work. Yeah, whatever, fine. It's really important. You don't know how well your brain could work because you've been autistic. You've been retarded for most of your life. And so you don't know how well your brain can work. When you're just mindless throughout the day, you think that you have control over your own brain. You fucking don't. These software companies, the food companies, the video game companies, they control you. You don't control yourself. So the cure to this, again, presence. Just be mindful, just focus on one thing at once. Like, when I'm speaking to some people, it's like I just can't speak to them. Like their brain turns off. It's like you look at them, like, and they're speaking to you, and they don't even look at you. You know what I mean? Like you've had this experience before. Like you're speaking to someone, they don't even look at you. They just look on their phone. They just fucking like they're just in the bottom half. You know what I mean? Like you've seen those like Instagram reels or whatever the fuck of like somebody saying something on top. Like maybe it's like a podcast clip, and then on the bottom is like GTA 5 rainbow parkour gameplay or whatever. They're just focused on that. They're watching Sneako's live stream whilst talking to you. You can't speak to these people. And so sometimes I have to like, like interrupt the conversation and think like, and say to the person like, look me in the eyes when you're speaking to me. When you're speaking to somebody, look them in the eyes. That's just basic, just human skills. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we wouldn't have had this problem because most people wouldn't have a monkey mindset when it comes to this. They would have actually been focused and like probably more present than you will ever be because you've been distracted throughout this video. Guarantee you haven't listened to a single word that I've said for the past like 5 minutes. Because again, your brain doesn't work. We need your brain to work. I know I keep saying this. We need your brain to work. How do you do this? You get off of social media, you get off of TikTok, you get off of Instagram, you sit in silence, you stare at your wall, you meditate, you do the good habits that will make you much more present than daydreaming ever will. The next dangerous habit that is mentally destroying you is overthinking. Overthinking doesn't serve you in any way. Maybe, for example, you have a big test coming up. I know this was a really common experience for me, but I would have a giant test coming up, and I would be so overthinking about it. I would be like, okay, I know how to do this problem. Like, what do I do about this, and this, and this, and this? Now, I'm not saying to be unprepared. That's not what I'm saying. But when you're prepared, you don't really overthink, do you? Alex Hormozi has this mindset where when he's doing a presentation, when he has to give a presentation, for example, he does the presentation 100 times before he actually like gives it in real life. So that way it just becomes routine. And so he doesn't have to overthink about it. He's already done this presentation 100 times before. And so he knows what to say. He knows how to say it. He's being prepared. So the cure to overthinking for at least like these circumstances is being prepared. When you're prepared for a presentation and you've practiced it multiple times, what's there to overthink about? You practice it hundreds of times already. You already know. And yeah, you know, sometimes you might make a mistake. Sometimes you might slip up. Bro, we're all gonna die anyway. Like most of the problems that you're overthinking about, chances are they're probably about what other people think about you. Because if other people didn't give a shit about you, which they don't, by the way. Nobody cares about you. Now, hold on. Random people that you see in your school, walking down the street, whatever, those people don't give a fuck about you. Why? Because you've had this experience before. Remember the times when somebody did something in your classroom that was embarrassing? Somebody did something that was really embarrassing. You can probably remember one of those moments, right? You can't remember those moments, can you? You can only remember the moments where you fucked up, where you slipped up. Really think, like, can you actually remember the moments where like somebody else slipped up? Maybe you can remember one, but chances are you only remember the moments that you slipped up. Do you remember the moments for fucking Stacy or whatever the fuck? Remember when they did something really embarrassing? Maybe you do. Maybe you're thinking about it right now, like, oh yeah, you know, like they did this thing, you know, they did a backflip and they like landed on their head or something, like, you know, that's not funny, that's actually dangerous. But you get the point. You only remember what you did. You only remember the embarrassing things that you did. You remember what fucking Becca did like 5 years ago in math class. But Becca probably remembers what she did 5 years ago in math class, but you don't because you're just self-conscious. And everybody is thinking that everybody's thinking about them. But in the reality is that everybody else is thinking about themselves. Why? Because everybody's got their own insecurities, they've got their own problems. And so, why the fuck you overthinking? It doesn't serve you in any way. You're gonna die, bro. You're gonna die anyway. And like people, let's say you do something absolutely just embarrassing. Like you gotta walk up on stage and do a presentation and you're like, you trip and fall or whatever the fuck, and everybody laughs at you. That's like 10 out of 10 worst case scenario, right? What happens? Realistically think about what happens. Okay, you slip and fall. Okay, cool, yeah, you know, it was funny, yeah, whatever, fine, yeah. People think about you for maybe 5 minutes. A few days later, maybe like some self-conscious, insecure people are all like talking about you. They're monkeys anyway. A couple days after that, who cares? Nobody cares. Why? Because again, people got their own shit to worry about. They're not thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves. And so the majority of the problems that we overthink about are just about what other people are gonna think about us. But the truth is that other people don't give a fuck about you, and they're just thinking about themselves. So why is there a reason to overthink? Let's say let's say right now that you had to do this big presentation, for example. You had to do like, let's say you're on the swim team, for example, and you're going to like the national championship or whatever, and you're worried about what these people will think about you. First of all, you're gonna die, and everybody's gonna forget about you in a long enough time frame. That's the truth. That's the truth. Second thing is that these people, all these people that you're overthinking about, like, oh yeah, what do they think about me? What do they think about me? First of all, they are also gonna die, and everybody's gonna also probably forget about them. And so it's like, why just overthink? You're gonna fucking die anyway. We extrapolate these things to death. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, if I, for example, have a presentation and then I slip and fall, for example, everybody's gonna think about me, everybody's gonna laugh about me, and I'm gonna be homeless on the street because nobody gives a fuck about me, and then I'm gonna starve and die. That's what we extrapolate this to, and I guess that's like evolutionarily. I don't know. Maybe that's just like part of the monkey mindset that we have. Realistically, again, what happens? You slip and fall. People might laugh at you for a couple of minutes. Like, yeah, fine, whatever. A few days later, nobody gives a fuck. Even that same day, nobody's gonna care. That same day, people are gonna think about you for maybe 5 minutes, and then after that, they got their own insecurities to worry about. They got their own problems to worry about. And so why are you overthinking? Because most of the time, we overthink about what other people will think about us. We overthink. If I fail this test, my parents are not going to love me anymore. They're going to kick me out of the house, and I'm going to starve and die. That's just simply not the case. There's something that I read recently where it was, okay, so you have a problem. Can you do anything about this problem? If you can't, don't bother. It's not worth bothering. Okay, just don't waste your time on it. If you can't do anything about this problem, don't bother. If you can do something about this problem, then do it. It's that simple. You have a problem, and you're overthinking about it, and you're like, oh, no, like, what do I do about this? What do I do about this? First of all, can you do something about it? Yes? Okay, cool, then do it. No? Don't bother. The last habit that's mentally destroying you is not taking responsibility. It's being irresponsible. Now, you might be wondering, like, okay, how the fuck does, like, not taking responsibility, like, mentally destroying, like, what the fuck does that even mean? Just give me some other, like, self-improvement habit, like, you know, like, porn again, or masturbation, or video games, or whatever. You already know all this. You already know those habits are good for you. You already know those habits mentally destroy you. You already know that. Being irresponsible. If you want to be responsible for something big in the future, maybe your family, that's a really big responsibility, isn't it? You need to start with being responsible for your bed. You need to make your bed every single day. You need to start with being responsible with your clothes. You need to fold your clothes every single day. You can't just like stuff them in the corner like I do before every video, so like you don't see any of them. You need to be responsible for those things because you level up this responsibility skill. And so when you want to take responsibility for maybe your family in the future, I know I want to. You already have a big level in this responsibility skill. You need to be able to take responsibility for yourself and for other people. If you don't take responsibility, then all you're gonna have is this small dick mindset that it's everybody else's fault. Does that serve you in any way? Does it serve you to think like, oh yeah, like this person did this to me, and like, you know, this happened and this happened? And you know, it could be true. Some things like could genuinely not be your fault. Does it serve you to think like, oh yeah, you know, like this person's to blame? No, it doesn't serve you. You need to take responsibility for it. You need to take, again, extreme ownership for the small things. Take responsibility. Listen, if you don't take responsibility for example, your health, how are you gonna end up? Fat, sick, unhealthy, 40% body fat, obese. I think 40% body fat is obese, or maybe it's like 35. I don't fucking know. Obese. Why? Because you're not responsible for yourself. Really? Do you really want to live that life where you're just irresponsible? Yeah, probably not, right? And so you need to take responsibility for these small things, because if you don't, it will mentally destroy you, mentally and physically. The guy who takes responsibility, like let's say every man that you look up to, every person that you look up to, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's Andrew Tate, maybe it's like Andrew Huberman or something like Jordan Peterson, whatever. These guys, if somebody bumps into them with like holding a tray of food and it spills everywhere on the floor, do you think that these people, these men, they're gonna be like, oh no, it's his fault. He did this, he did this, he did this. Do you think they're gonna do that? Do you think they're gonna shift blame? No. These people, these men, they're gonna be like, oh, sorry for bumping into you. Come on, let me help you clean up. They take responsibility for it, even though it might not even be their fault. They take responsibility for it. And so the guy who takes responsibility for something that's not his fault, he can end up taking responsibility for something way bigger in the future. Even though it's not his fault, even though he didn't spill the mess on the floor, he still took responsibility for it. Because think about you. If somebody bumped into you and they had like a tray of food and they just spilled all of it, just all over the floor, what would you do? Really, really think about it. Like, what would you do if somebody did that? If they just bumped into you and they spilled all this food on the floor, maybe some like landed on your clothes or something. Would you be like shouting and like blaming him, like, oh, what the fuck, man? Like, oh, it was his fault. Like, he did this. Or would you take responsibility for it? Would you be like, oh, sorry about that. Sorry for bumping into you. Come on, let me help you clean up. What kind of person are you? If you don't take responsibility, it doesn't serve you in any way. And so all that's going to do is just mentally destroy you, because you're going to like view the world in like such a negative way, man. Take responsibility for it. For every single thing in your life, you must take responsibility. Every single thing in your life. Blame shifting doesn't work. Blame shifting does not serve you in any way. Extreme ownership. That's it. Hope this video helped you, man. Take care.